Yo, what's going on guys? I'm Kerry, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be showing you how I process my guitars. Specifically, this is like an R&B loop on an electric guitar. But if you want me to show you how I do acoustic guitars as well, I can do that. Just let me know in the comments down below. And by the way, even if you don't play guitar, you're going to want to know how to process it, because you never know. One day you could be in a session with a session guitarist and he's playing and you're just playing him back his dry guitar. Nobody's going to want that. It doesn't sound that great. You want the processing on the guitar when you're hearing it back live in the session. So I got this guitar loop that I made with Olmo. He's a super fire musician. So you heard the loop in the intro. First I'm going to show you the first bit of the loop that we made, which is just me playing some chords. This is what it sounds like completely dry. So yeah, it feels empty, it feels like it's missing a lot. Once we put the effects though, this is what it sounds like. So yeah, way better in my opinion. It kind of sounds a lot more like what you imagine guitar sounds like, rather than what the dry signal coming out of guitar actually sounds like. So the first plugin I've got on this chain right now is this guitar amp from Waves. I just go in here and I select amp type clean, and then I select clean here, and that's literally all I do with this. Having the guitar amp on there first kind of gives it the guitar feel rather than just like a dry guitar signal. So without, it sounds like this, versus with, which sounds like this. So basically it just has a lot more like top end. It kind of sounds more like a guitar, if that, yeah. So the next part of the chain is actually a preset group that I made a while ago. It starts off with just this Pro Q3. I go in here, dynamic, instruments, acoustic guitar. This second one here, this basically just cuts the lows and kind of makes it a little bit more stereo. After that, I run it through the CLA 2A compressor. I actually use the acoustic guitar preset, even though it's not an acoustic guitar. I just think it sounds better than the electric guitar preset. The only thing I change in here is I make sure I hit the off button here in the analog section. As for what the compressor is actually doing is, if you don't know, a compressor takes the bits of the sound that are like low in dynamic range and brings it up, and the bits that are really high, it brings them down. So all in all, it just kind of like shortens the dynamic range, so you don't have any notes sticking out here and there. If you look at the dial here, when I play it, you'll actually be able to kind of see what it's doing, like how much it's bringing it down. So it's basically kind of like bringing it down like 5 decibels almost every time, except for the times when I kind of played it a bit uneven and accidentally played a bit louder. It got to about like -7. So yeah, that's what the compressor was doing. Next up, I just had another EQ, cutting out a bit of the low mids that were kind of boosted by the compressor. After that, I used this effect rack. Now this is actually the plugin that kind of gives it that vintage feel, if you know what I mean. Like, it doesn't sound vintage, but it kind of sounds vintage. I don't know, man. But yeah, I go in here, basics, color, cheap tape. And when you click that, it'll look like this. And the only thing I changed here is I go to this bit here and I change it from cheap tape to studio tape. I just think it sounds a bit better. It's a little less vintage, but still vintage. Next up is just this reverb from Arteria. I have it on the dark plate setting. I just turned the decay time down a lot and the dry and wet down, and made sure the dry is not too crazy. So the final plugin I've got here now is this Juno chorus. I just have it on the deep chorus preset with the mix turned down. I only put that on this specific guitar part because it was kind of the base of the melody and I want it to sound a bit more stereo, and I thought it worked. So, but I wouldn't say put that on every guitar you do. That's like specific to this loop. Alright, so now the next bit is all these like kind of like top melodies over the top of the chords, and I actually did process them slightly differently. It's like very minor, but it gives it a bit more like a stereo feel. Alright, so basically if I play you all of these parts, you're gonna hear some of the notes are more to the left and some of the notes are more to the right, but they're still in both sides. So make sure you're wearing headphones or using monitors or something, because otherwise you probably won't be able to tell what the difference is here. Also, I forgot to mention before, but you can, if you want, you can put like a noise suppressor like NS1 or X noise is good as well if you want, but I actually kind of liked, in this loop specifically, I liked the guitar noise that you get. So the difference in the processing on this one is only an effect track, and if I go in here, it's actually just, instead of it being on normal here, you click wide, and what that does is it kind of gives it a little bit of stereo separation, but not much, and it's always a little to the left. So what I went and did after that is, because there's 4 guitar parts, I wanted 2 of them to be a little to the right and 2 of them to be a little to the left. So what I did is I picked which 2 I wanted to be to the right and which 2 I wanted to be to the left, and I went in and I got this utility. It's like an Ableton stock thing, and this bit here normally says stereo, but I went in and I clicked swap, And what that does is it flips it around so that what was on the left is now on the right, and what was on the right is now on the left. You can also do it in FL just by clicking the swap stereo button. So that's all the processing I had on the guitars themselves, but I did have them inside this group as well, which is just RC20 on the Vinyl 3 preset with the noise turned down. And then I went down here and I bring the width down to about 50%, just so that it's a bit less wide. And then I also had this Pro Q3 cutting out a bit in the lower mids, and also just a bit of harshness I was hearing up here. So yeah, that's the processing on the guitars. Once again, this is what I do. You don't have to process it exactly like this, but it's a good place to start. For every loop, really, it's a little bit different. Like, you don't want to necessarily just put the exact same thing on everything. But yeah, if you want some guitar loops from me that sound like this, you can get my Mystify guitar collection over on drumify.com. That'll be linked in the description, along with me and Noah's Alchemy Analog Lab Bank, which you can also get over on drumify.com. That's pretty much it. Down here I literally just have a bass guitar. For effects on the bass, in this case, all I did is I went and got this basic Bass Pro preset from Guitar X6, and then I also had an EQ, just kind of cutting out a bit of the frequencies I thought were clashing with the guitar. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down in the comments below if you want to see how I process my acoustic guitars as well. Make sure to go follow me and the rest of the guys on our socials. Links to that'll be down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.